Today I want to talk about why this tatty, dusty old manuscript blew my mind when I first looked at it and is still one of my prized possessions. Let's talk about it. Today I thought we'd do something a little bit different. I want to show something that blew my mind when I first saw it, but I need to set the scene now. I need to set up some context. I've been interested in sleight of hand with cards since I was a small child. I was a weird kid. As long as I can remember, I've always been around cards. Card games was a big thing all through my childhood. When I used to play cards with my grandmother as long back as I can remember. And being from the family that I'm from, I grew up with stories of sweet victories and bitter defeats at gambling, a triumph and despair at the card table. It all sounded like a lot of drama to me at the time and very exciting. And I've got absolutely no doubt that that influence is why I'm here talking about this stuff now and why I still love it. Before the internet was slim pickings for me. My parents got me a card trick book. That's the first book I ever got. I don't know where they got it from. I tried to learn everything in it, but even then I was never really interested in performing card tricks or anything. I never really was comfortable doing it. I just wanted to learn it all. Even to this day, despite spending time with cards probably every day, I would struggle if somebody asked me to do a card trick. Not that they would, because it's not something that I ever advertise or really discuss. But yeah, I don't know any card tricks really. I only know gambling things. Then the internet came around and a massive amount of information became available to me. Books, DVDs, etc. all became available. And cutting a long story really short, very long story, I fixated on two people. I'd say two individuals were a focus for me. The first was Ed Marlowe. Before I saw Marlowe's stuff, I was wading through magic books and trying to apply the things I was seeing in magic books to like card table kind of work, and it was really difficult. But then I heard this person called Ed Marlowe had written books purely about tabled riffle shuffles. Whole books just about tabled riffle shuffles. I knew that I needed to get these books, but they were not easy to get. This was the late 90s and they were really hard to get then. They're probably even harder to get now, but I did manage to hunt them down. I managed to get the whole Riffle Shuffle trilogy. The trilogy was gold to me. It was my first exposure to things like push-throughs, strip-outs, block transfers, blocking off, all these advanced concepts in Riffle Shuffle work that were all... I'd either heard of them but didn't really know how they worked, or I hadn't even heard of a lot of it. And then I received these books which were very detailed and all laid out in a really practical way, and I just devoured them. Everything I do now has been adapted and changed to fit in with general card table protocol, but back then I used to do everything exactly like Marlowe did it, so all hand positions etc. were exactly what was written in Riffle Shuffle systems. Marlowe also released things called Marlowe magazines. I didn't have any copies of those, but I'd read that there was some gold in them. So if I saw one, I knew I would pick it up, and that's exactly what I did. They were very difficult to get, so it took me some time to get a copy of any of the Marlowe magazines. But I'll get back to those in a minute. My second influence, or my second biggest influence, besides mentors that I had direct contact with, was Steve Forte. When I first managed to see the original Game Protection tapes, my mind was absolutely blown. Those things were the stuff of dreams for me. Exactly what I wanted. I'd never had access to anything like that before, and that's exactly what I'd always wanted access to. No longer was I looking at moves created for and by magicians for the purposes of card tricks and then trying to adapt them. No longer was that happening. This was the real stuff. I watched those tapes and practiced things from them, tried to adapt things from them to what I was doing, and really thought about the ethos behind everything in those tapes. They were a revelation to me. It was something else for me once I saw those. But Steve Forty then didn't release anything for years and years and years. But then suddenly, Forty announced that he would release this. This was another revelation for me. Casino game protection was the grail to me. So I studied and studied it. It was very expensive at the time. And I had to get it shipped from Las Vegas. And the delivery company left it at the wrong house, and it was out in wind and rain for a week. But anyway, leave that to it. It's a very expensive book. That's a different story. But I studied it. I looked through everything. I tried to adapt things. I tried to learn the ethos of things and understand the philosophy of the moves therein. Whenever anything became available from Forty or Marlowe that I thought might have something in it I wanted, I'd get it. Forty then brought out this. This was another book that I devoured and tried to learn everything from. And it wasn't just moves, it was a understanding of motivation and the philosophy behind those moves that really interested me, as well as the practicality of the moves themselves. So one of the reasons why these Marlowe manuscripts are really difficult to come by is that he seemed to produce them himself and ship them out to people himself. So whenever I received a copy of something like this, which is the first part of Riffle Shuffle Systems, it's bound like you might get bound in a library, and it's almost like typed and photocopied, right? So the pages look typed and photocopied. I'll put some proper pictures up of this. And what you'd often find in these is they'd have personalised inscriptions from Marlowe himself. So then I saw a copy of Marlowe Magazine, Volume 3, become available. This was a manuscript Marlowe issued in 1979. So, yeah, when I saw it come up for sale, don't see those come up for sale very often, I bought it. When it arrived, I actually had it for a while before I looked at it. This is it. And it was just kept in a box. But then one day I thought, right, let's take a look at that Marlowe magazine. And I opened it up. And obviously, there was an inscription in it. Well, this is the part where I was gobsmacked and my jaw dropped when I opened it. To think that my copy that I'd bought of Marlowe magazine was Steve Forty's copy. I'd unwittingly bought Steve Forty's copy is still mind-blowing to me. To say I was absolutely blown away by that inscription was an understatement. To some people, the inscription would probably be something and nothing. To me, because of my own personal journey through cards, it was monumental. It's honestly unbelievable still to me that, given who these people are to me, that I've got a book that was sent to one of them by the other one and now is with me. That triangle, we've all held this book, even though I've never met either of them. It made me wonder as well if Marlowe and Forty actually ever met. And if they did, I would love to have been a fly on the wall in that meeting. Anyway, thanks for watching.